Here I find myself again, time traveling only in my head. From the past to future play, or change, yeah. My emotions are valid, but the goal is not to be triggered every time. Never mind, it's just like it's okay for my sanity to chase perfect peace, and now forever and always be present. I am enough as I am. I am fully equipped. Even when the tide and the currents start to shift, I am adaptable. I am adaptable. Let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go. Safe from me to let it go. The balance between problem solving and the universe working itself out. All that I have is all that I need. But to actualize it, I can't doubt, no doubt. My emotions are valid, but the goal is not to be triggered every time. Never mind, it's just life. It's okay for my sanity.
Hey Jay, happy Friday. How are you?
Always be present. I am enough as I am. I am fully even when the tide and the currents start to shift. I am adaptable. I am adaptable. Let it go, let it go, let it go.
Hey Sonia, happy Friday. How are you? I just decided to pop on here for a little while. I had a plan for a couple of lives that I was actually going to do, but this week, the weather, I just was like, I don't want to. I had a whole plan of lives I was supposed to do, but
you fresh out. If I said I was blessed before, man, let's get in depth now. Give me a sec, yo. I gotta step out. The moment we saw the ultrasound, my heart skipped a step. Wow, the beauty of creation.
Good. I am happy the sun is out. I am so happy the sun is out. The last, well, pretty much since Monday evening, we had an ice storm come through, so snow, ice, rain, thunder, and then like yesterday it was still, the temperature was keeping the ice down, and so we had no sunlight. So today is the first day of sunlight, so now the ice and all that stuff is melting, so that's a good thing, because I know people were getting cabin fever, wanting to get out of the house, and so though still have to be a little careful today, just because there are some areas where ice is still trying to melt, so I'm just happy to see the sun. The little things we take for granted.
Just making sure that she comfortable. Thinking one day I'll say that's my son for you. Anything you need, I'll get it done for you. That's why I'm working while I'm off for the glory we gon' run into, just run it through.
Oh yeah? Y'all were on your way to California? Well, yeah, like flights and things, people were not able to fly in or out because of that. I know like some of the people I work with were scheduled to be elsewhere and they couldn't leave, and then there were people that were supposed to fly here that weren't able to come because of that. So
I couldn't wait to tell my brothers. Kiss your mother on the forehead and I told her that I love her. We was lovers before you came into this world, and now that you here now, next
I mean, but those are the things you can't control, so just gotta work with it. But hopefully everyone had what they needed. The main people that I feel sorry for are those who are without homes, who are having to be out there, just hoping that everybody is able to find some type of shelter. And it gets crazy. But yeah, I'm so happy to see the sunshine. What are you guys up to this weekend? I'm supposed to go to this short film premiere tomorrow. I'm still contemplating if I'm going or if I'm not going. But you're supposed to kind of get all dolled up and stuff. And I don't know if I'm in the mood. I like getting dressed up, but sometimes you have to be motivated to like get like red carpet dressed up, I guess. So we will see. I could wear like a nice pantsuit. I'm not really feeling putting on a dress right now.
That was his sister that she left. He left us with her for him to come.
What part of Texas do you guys have to go to?
And said, Daddy.
I always kind of wondered how that is being on the road like that. Oh yeah, I like pantsuits a lot more nowadays. It's probably because I have to wear blazers all the time for work too. But I like pantsuits. You can change the shirt underneath to make it like more grown and sexy, or you can switch it up to like a turtleneck if it's cold. Like you can make it work. Put on heels if you want to. You can dress it up, dress it down. But no, I've always said it would be cool to take a like cross-country trip, and I hope one day to be able to actually do it. But I feel like you have to go with the right people, because like I would love to drive from the West Coast to the East Coast and go like one direction going there and then come back, like maybe travel there going through the southern states and then travel back coming through the northern states, kind of working your way around. I always thought that would be fun. But of course, you have to plan it so that you're kind of planning when you're going to stop, what places you're going to stay in, and actually get hotels in. If you have family in some of the places, might schedule like to spend time with family or to stay with family in some places. Like I think that would be really, really cool. A cool way to see some of the states I haven't been to. I would love to do that. So my job, one thing I like about my job, and I've only been working for this company for about 7 months now. Hi, MLW Fishing Man. So yeah, I've been working for this company, well, yeah, about 7 months now. And they have us, they offer so many different things. Like, they're really trying to make the work environment more inclusive, and making sure that they're being mindful of the various types of people that we work with. And so one of the things that they've been offering are like book studies that you can join if you want to. You don't have to, but you can join different ones. So they had like I think there was like 4 or 5 books that they showed, and you could choose which one you wanted to be a part of if you wanted to. And you can be involved in talking about like discussions about race and stuff like that. So I thought it was really cool, because the one that I joined, we're reading this book, So You Want to Talk About Race, by Joma Aluo, and I hope I did not mess up her name. I probably did, but the author is a black woman, and she's actually biracial. Her mom is white and her dad is black, but when I tell you she is raw and uncut, and what's funny is not really funny, what's cool is that the book study is a mixture of people. So you have, in our group, there was probably like 6 people, sometimes 4, depending on which day people are available to meet. Sometimes people are not available to meet. So but it's really interesting, because she talks about being the different challenges of being black in America, and then the things that people don't want to talk about. She hits on a lot of those things, and she's very raw about it. And the thing about it, like, some people, this one of the white guys that's in the group, the book study, he said that as he's reading the book, there were times where he kind of stopped to think about, like, if he said he had some family members that probably wouldn't even read the book just because of some of the things that she says, because she says it so blatant, so blunt. And but he said he struggles with, how do you get your family members who would hear like one thing in the book that they don't like and close it, how do you get them to want to engage in the conversation? Because he was saying, like, some of my family members, some of my older family members, or people in my family that have certain beliefs or religious beliefs or things like that, political beliefs, they wouldn't pick it up and read it, or they would see one thing and close it. So how do you like open that conversation? But it's a really good book. I recommend reading it. And you won't agree with everything she says, but it will make you think. It's definitely good for a book study. We've been having some really good conversations. And I like that it's a mixture of people, because you have perspective from those of us who are black, and you have those who are not, who are able to kind of tell us what they're thinking, or to hear something from us that they didn't think about. But yeah, so really interesting book for sure. Hey Joseph, thank you. I missed you all too. I had planned on another kind of segment of Tag Talks, but this week I told my sister, I don't know what was going on with me this week, but I just was not motivated, like, even for my job. So my job is pretty much remote, like, until I have to be at a school campus, everything else is remote. So we have projects and stuff that we have to work on, or sometimes Zoom meetings and stuff like that. And like, I've been logging into the meetings and stuff like that, but some of the product work and stuff like that, I've had to motivate myself to get here and sit down and do it. Like, I don't know if it was the weather, I don't know what it was, but I just haven't been motivated to like even work this week. I've had to give myself pep talks. literally yesterday, I kept telling myself, get in front of your computer and work on some of the product stuff you need to do. Get in front of your computer, work on it. And hours going by, I'm doing other stuff. Finding ways to distract myself, doing other stuff. And mind you, I couldn't leave the house because the ice on the road. So I was inside. So it was a perfect opportunity for me to just sit down and focus and just do what I needed to do. But I just was like finding any way to distract myself, whether I'm on my phone or I go in the kitchen and cook something or whatever it might be, and just letting time waste. And I'm like, what am I doing? So last night, I finally sat down at like, it was probably like 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening. And then I started working on some of my work stuff and got a lot done, but I was sitting here finally motivated from like 7 p.m. till like midnight, almost. And I got a lot of stuff done, but it was like, why did it take me so long to sit and do it? I don't know. I was having a moment of just not being motivated. Oh, thank you so much. Blessings to you as well. 334 miles from Albuquerque. Okay. That's more definitely northern New Mexico. Yeah, that area can get a lot more snow than where I grew up in New Mexico, for sure. But you just never know with the weather and all that stuff. But yeah, I don't know what was wrong with me. I told my sister, I'm like, I was not motivated this week to do anything. Though I did make myself kind of edit and put out a few videos. And I have one that I edited this morning. Today I've been great, but I think it's the sun. And that's why, like, I think I mentioned in another live, the power of sunlight. Like, I think people underestimate the power of sunlight. Like, I don't think I could manage or live anywhere where it was like cloudy every single day. Cause I struggled this week. And today the sun is shining. Like, can open the windows and see the sun. And I had to close this one because it was causing a reflection on the camera. But I think people underestimate how much the sun, like, I don't know, gives you happy energy. To respond to a text message. Joseph, how are you? How's your week been? But yeah, I was talking about the book. So you want to talk about race? I definitely recommend reading it. Like I said, it will challenge you to think, and it will, sometimes you won't agree, sometimes you will. And the thing about it, I was talking about the coworker that said he would love to have these conversations with his family, and this was a white guy. He said he would love to have these conversations about race with his family, but he just doesn't know how to get them to want to talk about it. Because she's so blunt in this book that it could, like, it's tough conversation, and not everybody wants to do or do that or have those conversations with people. So like at one point she says that she's an atheist. And so, I mean, even thinking about like my parents and how I grew up, like as soon as somebody says they're atheist, there's people immediately that would close the book and be like, oh, not listening to that one, because they think it's coming from someone that they don't agree with. Automatically they won't even hear where she's coming from. And the thing is, like, I'm not an atheist, but I still enjoyed reading the book because it's not about her religion, even though she mentions it when it's relative to whatever she's talking about. That's not the premise. Like she's not in the book trying to tell people to be that. That's just kind of her telling about her life story and about who she is. She mentions it, and then she mentions it again, like when her son was dealing with something in school where he mentioned it. So, or like I think she said something about the Republican Party, and so like if your family is a part of the Republican Party, if you have friends or whoever, they might close the book because they're like, oh, well, she's Democrat, so let me close that book. But I don't know. She didn't say what her political party is, but I noticed she said something about the Republican Party. So I don't know. It's a good book because it challenges your thinking, but it's called So You Want to Talk About Race, and talks about a lot of different things, but really good book. Yeah, it's good to hear other views, and I think also just showing people love, not immediately dismissing them because they don't believe the same as you, or automatically assuming that anything else that they say might not be valid just because you don't have the same belief about religion or politics. Because no matter what your belief system is, there are still things you can learn from each other. And so I've just always kind of been that way. So I just try to like see who people are and try to listen. But I think that only works if you know who you are as an individual person, and you can't be easily persuaded to be something that you don't believe, or that would make you feel like you're not yourself. Not everybody can handle being around people who have these different ways of thinking because it confuses them and they don't know who they are. But I feel like when you really know who you are as an individual person, like you know what your beliefs are, and no one can change them, you know what your morals are and no one can change them, then you can have conversations, healthy, respectful conversations with people who don't necessarily believe those things, because you know it's not about somebody trying to convince you, because you can't be convinced. So like if I remember I had a coworker who was an atheist, and she told me her story of how like she was raised in the Catholic Church and different things like that. And she told me kind of some of the things that happened along the way where she started to question, like, these people aren't behaving like they're preaching, or that they're telling us to behave. Like, they're not living the life that they're even telling us about or telling us to believe in, or whatever it might be. And so I think it was more where she kind of had that, they call it like church hurt almost, where people, they've been so hurt by people in various religions that they just don't want to have anything to do with religion. But often is they just can't get past the people, and sometimes people can misrepresent God and all of that. So thank you, I appreciate that. And I know, I mean, I've dealt with that because, like I said, growing up in the church with my dad, becoming a pastor when I was 6 years old, like, I understand how there are people that are mean, that like are church people, but you have to keep in mind, like, we're humans. You're going to encounter other humans that have issues or that may not be so nice or may not be so kind, but they're not God. So it's like, don't let those people cloud who God actually is. And so I feel like that's where a lot of that comes from. But I mean, I was able to have conversations with her about all of that. And then, but it was never a conversation where she felt like I was trying to tell her not to be atheist, because it wasn't. It was just her expressing who she is and how she came about to be an atheist, and then me kind of expressing like how I grew up. And the thing about it is, it's not about like saying, oh, you have to be this way. Like, you can tell your story and tell people about your experience, and it might lead them to change their mind, or it may not. But if you tell them your story and your experiences, it could possibly make someone believe. But if you're trying to just force it on them, and you're doing so, and it's not even in a loving way at all, they're not going to listen to you. It's better to even just be kind and live out what you're trying to portray to people about God. I feel like people they try to say so much, like they try to quote every single Bible scripture, or every conversation is so preachy and like religious, where they forget to be humans. Like, they forget that as humans we have to be able to relate. And if you're talking to somebody who doesn't have that belief, and you're just quoting all these scriptures at them, they don't even know what that means. That's not the way to reach people. Not saying not to quote any scriptures, but it's just a way to do it. I think some people do it so forcefully that other people are like, I don't want to go because those people are mean, or I don't want to go because they don't even act lovingly. Like, they're telling me that they serve this loving God, but they're not even loving. They're so mean. And I've come across people like that too. So I'm in a good place, but I mean, I've had my moments, and sometimes still do, where I'm like, stop and thinking like, I need an answer to this. Like, this doesn't make sense to me, or why is this happening? And I think that's human nature, to have questions and to have those moments. But at the same time, you have to reach that level of peace where you know who you are as a person. So, and for the most part, I feel like I've found that, even when I do have those moments where I'm just like, what? This doesn't make any sense. I just like learning from people. I like hearing people's stories. And that's why, like, people will find, like, with me, I'll say I used to be really shy when I was younger, but as I got older, I'm not so much shy as I am still somewhat quiet-natured. Like, I can still be very quiet-natured at times, but it's not so much coming from a shy place anymore as before it could have. But a part of that is I like to be observant. Like, if I enter a room, I may not be the loudest person in the room. Like, I'm looking around, I'm listening to what I hear, just kind of getting a sense of the room. So I used to always kind of tell people, like, if you see me kind of dip off and go like sit by myself, it doesn't mean I'm trying to be like trying to avoid people, or it doesn't mean that I'm being standoffish, or that I think I'm better than anybody. Like, sometimes I just have to remove myself, or just kind of go sit and get a feel for the room. You'd be surprised how much you learn about people sometimes from just listening to what they say and watching how they act and seeing how the two kind of align. Because I don't know if you guys have ever met people that talk so much, and they have something like a comeback or something for everything, and then you like look at the way that they're acting and the way they treat people, and it's like, this doesn't match up, this doesn't align. Like I'm like, I always tell people, your action should match your words. Like if you're saying you're like, people will throw out, I'm humble, and then you see them doing things and it's like, that's not humility though, but you're saying you're humble. Or you will hear people say like, I love people, like I care about people, but then you see how they treat like custodians or wait staff, and you're like, no, you don't love people. It's like, did you see how you just went off on that receptionist or custodian or whoever it might be? But yes, I'm so glad that we made it through this week. It's interesting. I think the last 3 years in a row, we've gotten some type of bad weather around this time of January. It was either mid-January or the end of January. And so this year it came at the end of January. Last year we had similar kind of ice storm, but where the ground was icy, and we had to, like, schools had to be canceled just like they were this week. And then 2021 we had a snow storm where it was actually like a lot of snow, much more than this area of Texas ever really gets. But it didn't really snow like that this time. It was ice snow. It was like, wasn't solid, or like the soft ice or soft snow. You try to walk on this stuff that was out there, you were just going to be slipping and sliding. They actually showed a picture of a man who I guess got tired of being in the house. So he put on his ice skates and he was ice skating down the street. I was cracking up. I was like, hey, he made good use of the weather. It was kind of funny to see a picture of him ice skating outside in Dallas, Texas. Let's see. Joseph said, I'm such a calm spirit. For the most part, I am calm. But what's interesting is, like, I'm only not calm if I see something happening in front of me that I just know is not right. Like, if you are bullying somebody in front of me, I'm not going to be quiet. Like, I'm one of those that will say something. If you are mistreating somebody in my family, a friend, or whatever it might be, if I see you mistreating somebody in front of me, I'm not going to be quiet about it. So I'm calm, but there's also the I will speak up. You just can't walk around on edge and mean all day. Though some people do, but I can't. Like, I don't want to live like that, walking around with the attitude or a shrug on my shoulder. Like, some people just have a chip on their shoulder every single day, just like in a bad mood. And that's just not how I want to live my life. So I try to smile, and people will be like, you're always smiling. It's not that I'm always smiling, because there's stuff that makes me cry or sad, or because that's just being a human. I think if somebody says they never cry, I'm like, you're not a robot. Everybody gets sad or angry. Like, we're supposed to go through emotions, but it's a matter of like self-control. Can you control those emotions? I actually had a talk with my nephew yesterday because it was his birthday. He just turned 7. And my sister told me that he had this emotional response to his teacher. Something happened in class. Like, I think he said that she thought that he wasn't listening because he did something on his assignment that he wasn't supposed to do. And so she got mad at him and saying he wasn't listening. And he told her, I just didn't hear you. Or he was trying to tell her, I just didn't hear you. And I forgot exactly. Like, I think she told him, I'm gonna call your mom or call this person or whatever she said. And so he grabs her hand and is like, no, don't call. And he's like having a whole emotional response to her. And mind you, my sister told me the story, but then I called him on his birthday and I had him tell me the story. And at first he didn't want to talk to me about it because I think he kind of was annoyed that I mentioned it on his birthday. Because I called him to say happy birthday. And then I was like, you know what? I have a little issue I need to talk about with you. I said, your mom told me you got into a little trouble in class. I was like, tell me about that. And he actually walked away from the phone and went to go sit down. And he was at my mom's house at that moment because my sister was still at work. So my mom was like, he walked away from the phone. So I was like, come back to the phone. His name is Reese. I said, Reese, come back to the phone. I said, I'm not mad at you. I just want to talk to you about it. I want you to tell me what happened. So he came back to the phone and he told me what happened. And he said that the teacher told them that they were only supposed to work on this one page. And he did like 3 of the pages because she said that he wasn't listening. He said, I just didn't hear her. And so I told him, the only person you can control is yourself. So when she said that to you, the only thing you can try to do is use your words. Don't fall out on the floor and have a whole emotional response and fall out on the floor. Like, no, like you don't have to do all that. I said, you're now 7 years old. At that moment you were 6. So he's really a smart kid, but he's having to learn how to use his words to express himself instead of like falling on the floor and throwing a fit. But I feel like adults, we still do some of that behavior too. We don't fall on the floor and have a fit, but it's like you go to Walmart or something, and let's say the cashier makes a mistake. Some people will just like go off, like cuss the lady out or do this, and some people will be like, it's okay, I understand, no problem, as long as the mistake is corrected or whatever. But I feel like adults can throw those same kind of tantrums sometime. But it was funny to have that conversation with my nephew because he's crazy about me. Like every time I go home, he is running to give me a hug, and then we start play fighting and all this stuff. But as soon as it's time for me to leave, he's like, no, don't leave, or when are you coming back over? I want to go to Dallas, like that kind of thing. But he did not like that I mentioned him getting in trouble on his birthday. He was like over that conversation, trying to just go walk away from the phone. I was like, you really just gonna walk away from the phone? How you gonna just walk away from the phone? But the joys of being young and having to learn how to navigate life. But I don't know, it's hard. I also, like, I was telling my sister, I said sometimes teachers need to have more patience too, because I mean, my sister's a teacher as well, and I was a teacher for 10 years. And so I told her there's probably times where I may have been even impatient, because sometimes you have a class full of like 22 students. Sometimes you're trying to move on to the next part of the lesson. You may not stop and hear like what the kid is trying to tell you. So I was telling my sister, like, my nephew's teacher probably needs to take time to stop and just let him explain, because maybe if he would have explained, like, I actually didn't hear you. But he said she wouldn't let him explain. She just like cut him off when he was trying to tell her, I didn't hear you. But instead of continuing to try to use his words, he threw a fit, and that didn't help either. So it seemed like the adult was probably wrong as well as the child in some ways. But sometimes kids just want to be heard. So I do know that I want to go outside, but I'm gonna have to make sure I put on the right shoes because two of my friends have said that they've slipped on ice going outside already. So it's not funny, but it kind of is funny in a way, because it's like, you know that there's ice, like, you gotta be careful. But sometimes you can't see it. You think you're good, and then you just slide, and it's like nothing you could do about it. And you can't even really fall gracefully at that point. It just happens, and you just have to just get back up. But I'll probably get outside in a little bit before the sun goes down, just to like soak in some of the sun rays. I was actually supposed to be in Las Vegas today. Well, no. I was supposed to be in Las Vegas I was supposed to fly to Las Vegas on Tuesday, and I would have been flying back last night. So I would have been back by now. But I was supposed to be in Las Vegas for work. So I got assigned to work with, there's a group of us, a group of teacher coaches and principal coaches that got assigned to go work with teachers in Clark County School District, teachers and principals. Clark County School District is the school district that is Las Vegas and the small areas that are around Las Vegas. So that's why it's called Clark County. All of those areas that are within Clark County is Clark County School District. But we're waiting for them to finish processing some of the paperwork that's needed for some of our coaches that haven't been processed yet, because we had to do fingerprinting. We had to send in our fingerprints. They had to do background checks on us and stuff like that. And mine has already been processed, but some people have not. And so they're waiting for Las Vegas to finish that. But not only that, this week, because of the ice storm, nobody was going anywhere anyway. But so it would have got canceled regardless. But we were supposed to start going this week. And then I would have gone another week in February, but they moved us to March. So I'm actually supposed to be in Las Vegas in March. I think it's the first week of March. And then it's the first week of March. Let me see. No, I'm scheduled to be in Las Vegas the second week of March and the fourth week of March. So basically, I'll have to fly there on Sunday evening. Then I'll be there for 4 days. And on the Thursday, I'll have to fly back to Dallas. And then I come back and work here. And then the next week, for that week, and then the following week, I go back to Vegas again for 4 days. So I have to go there 6 times, 4 days each, from now till May. So so pretty much 8 days in March, I'll be in Vegas, not back to back. 4 days, and then I'll go back for another 4 days. Then in April, I'll be there. In April, I go to Vegas for 11 days. No, 12 days. Is that right? No, it's 8 days in March, 8 days in April, 8 days in May. Wow. How old am I? I am 40. I turned 40 in July of last year. We did my 40th birthday trip in New Orleans. Me and one of my best friends, and then Coco from Coco TTV. She met me down there in New Orleans, and we celebrated my 40th birthday. So I will be 41 this year. Okay. Yeah. People say that I look young, and I kind of like to tease people and say the reason why I look this young is because I don't have kids and I'm not married. But I don't think that's the reason. I think the real reason is because my parents don't look their ages. But I like to tease and say that. I think also too it has to do with like life choices, because there's certain things that can age you a lot more. Like one of my aunts, my dad's half sister, one of his half sisters, because my dad, he has a lot of siblings, but they don't all have the same father, if that makes sense. So one of his sisters, she's very fair skinned, like very, very fair skinned. Like she has always worn a lot of makeup. Like she would wear the foundation, the powder. She's always worn like makeup on her face, like foundation, powder, and stuff like that. And some people don't realize that can age your skin too, as well. Because I mean, she wouldn't go anywhere hardly without makeup on. And now when you see her without any of the powder or the foundation and stuff, like her skin doesn't look so youthful, even though she's older now. So that has a part to do with it. But like she looks older than my mom, and my mom is older than her. I think my mom is older than her. Sorry if that aunt happens to watch this or another family member and they figure out who I'm talking about. But it's the truth. Oh, it does add stress, you say? Well, I could see that. But people often think I'm younger. It's funny because even my oldest niece, when she was little, I was like still in my 20s, and she did not think I was a grown up. She told my sister, like, she's not a grown up. She thought I was just like, because I used to play with her and be all playful and stuff, but she thought I was a teenager because I didn't look like what she thought an adult was, I guess. But it can be a gift, and it can also be like not a gift, because sometimes people, they think you're younger, so they don't take you seriously, or they're like, you seem a bit wise in some areas, but they think I'm just like, they don't realize that it comes from the fact that I am 40. Like I've had some experiences, like experiencing the 20s and the 30s and going through like relationships or going through life or trying to figure out like what my career was going to be or whatever it might be. Like I've gone through that already. So, but people think you're so young, so they're like, what could you have gone through, or what do you, especially when they're older. Hey, Cowboy. Happy Friday. How are you? Thank you to those of you who have been popping in and out. I appreciate it. I've just been doing random lives. I had like 3 lives that were actually planned, and then I didn't do any of them. So then today I was just like, I'm just gonna go live, and whoever pops on, pops on. What are you up to, Cowboy? What are you guys doing on this Friday? I am just happy that the sun is out. I'm so happy the sun is out, because it's been gloomy and icy all week. This has been the first day of sunshine this week. So I'm really excited about that. I probably wouldn't be in the house right now if it weren't still a little bit icy. It's melting, but still got to be a little careful. Trying to find a... So I was doing a trial run of this website called Epidemic Sound. I don't know if you can see it. But you can pay for a subscription, and they basically connect to your social media. So like if I use the music during a live or in a video, then I won't get copyrights. But even after the trial is up, because I don't think I'm gonna pay for it. I just wanted to try it out. But if I were not to pay for it, even like videos that I have already used some of their music with, they're not gonna go back and put copyrights on it. So I thought it was pretty cool, but I just don't want to pay for another subscription right now, because I feel like I have enough paid subscriptions. But it's pretty cool that you have things that are offering that. Yeah, they have a pretty good variety. That's why I wanted to test it out to see. And it might be something that I end up going ahead and getting, especially if I start to do more lives, because I like to have music playing, but it's just annoying when it's copyrights put on it. 13 degrees. Ugh, that's cold. Gosh, that's cold. Growing up in New Mexico, we used to, sometimes the winters could get down to like 10 degrees, but we did have a few winters that got really low to like almost 0 degrees. It's not the norm, but it used to happen. But and actually my hometown, the summers get a lot hotter than they used to. Like we used to get to like the 90s, late 90s, mid 90s, and now my hometown has gotten up there to like 110 in the summer. And I'm like, we used to get those 110 temperatures in Vegas. So my hometown has been getting that kind of heat now too. But it still can get pretty cold there. Like I think one day not long ago it was like 7 degrees in my hometown, 7 degrees or something like that. It hasn't gotten that cold here except for 2 years ago. So every so often northern Texas will get those cold waves that come through and drop the temperatures really low. But like typically the coldest it kind of gets is like in the 20s normally. If there's a sense of normal in Texas, because I feel like the weather is so unpredictable sometimes. But thank goodness for meteorologists, because they do pretty good with getting it right. Well, y'all, let's see. I'll stay on like another 4 or 5 minutes. Yeah, what I like about Epidemic Sound is they have playlists too, like that you can choose from, or you can go and like find individual songs. And if you have the subscription, you can download them as well. So if you want to record a video and use that music in a recorded video, you can. So that's really cool. Because I like that, because like I've been editing with Filmora, and they have music that you can use, but I found that every so often you'll upload a video and get a copyright on it, and you got it from the app from your editing app. Like I feel like if you use music that's loaded in the editing app, like they shouldn't put a copyright on it. I feel like that should be paid through your subscription or whatever. So like that's always annoying to me. It doesn't happen all the time, but every so often I'll use one of those and it'll get a copyright on it. I'm like, what? So I can see the benefit of something like this. But I wish I were a music producer, someone who composed instrumentals, because I would surely do that for YouTube. Like that would be a whole side hustle. You need music? I got it. Yeah, that's a different level of cold, and I haven't ever had to experience that just longer than a few days. I don't think I could do it, because I'm naturally someone who gets cold easily. Like I'm just like my dad. My dad gets cold easy. I'd rather live where it's hot. Like people are like, it gets too hot in Las Vegas. I actually preferred Las Vegas heat over Texas heat. Texas heat can be a little more humid and it messes with my allergies more. I feel like my allergies get worse here than they did there. But I also grew up in drier heat too. But it's like my hometown's not considered the desert, so it's not desert heat, but it was drier heat than here in Texas. Though Dallas doesn't get as humid as Houston does. Houston is a lot more humid. I don't want to live anywhere that's really humid, that's super super cold. Cowboy, where do you think you guys will move? Next month, March, you should have a March is probably a good month to visit Houston. The summer is when, like, I'd say like late June, July, August, probably the most hot, humid months to visit Houston. It should still be good in March though. Houston's very widespread, like Dallas is, but Houston, it's interesting Dallas has horrible traffic. Houston has, to me, worse traffic. But Dallas is about to be just as bad as Houston traffic. Like, it's right there. Like, they're like this now, I think. I tell people, if you could drive in Houston downtown, rush hour traffic, you can drive in LA. Because LA traffic is horrible. And Houston downtown rush hour traffic is horrible. Oh, those are two different. Well, Houston, Tampa. Both get hurricane seasons. Florida and that area, Houston, they get, because it's so close to Galveston, that area and stuff. They get hurricane weather. Florida is one of the states I haven't been to yet, which I don't understand why I haven't gone to Florida, but I'm definitely, that's on my list to go. I said each year I want to travel to a few states I haven't been to until I've gone to all of them. So oh, if you don't like Atlanta traffic, Houston to me is worse. They might be close, but I think Houston's is worse because Houston's so like Atlanta's widespread, but Houston is even more so because Houston's kind of like Dallas, where people say they're from Houston, but then they might live in Spring, Texas, or they might actually live in Katy, or they might live in like Sugarland, like, but then they'll say they're from Houston. It's kind of the same in Atlanta. Like, people say they're from Atlanta, but they might actually live in like Conyers or Buckhead or whatever it might be. But same thing here. But it also depends too, because if you, like I told even my parents, because I'm always trying to get people to move to Dallas, because they don't like traffic at all. My dad especially. But the thing about here is, and it is the same way in Houston, same way in Atlanta too. For the most part, wherever you live, as long as you choose an area that has pretty much everything you need, you don't have to always really deal with that traffic, unless you want to go like hang out or go like visit or go chill somewhere. So that's the good thing about it. You can live there and not have to necessarily deal with it every day. Because when I moved here and I got hired for my job, when I first moved here, when I worked for a school district, I made sure that I lived within like 10-15 minutes. So I didn't have a commute. So I didn't have to deal with the traffic on a daily basis. But of course, like if I wanted to go visit somebody somewhere else or go hang out somewhere, you have to deal with it then. But there's ways to not have to deal with it every day. But there's definitely a lot to do, a lot of good food places, and a lot to do in Houston. But yeah, I want to visit Florida. I think there's a couple of places this year I want to go, but we'll see. I'm trying not to, well, this year I probably won't do as much personal travel. More of my travel will be work related, but I do want to hopefully get back to Maryland. I want to go to, I have to go to Alabama this year. I told Coco I want to come see her in Alabama. So I have to make that trip. Maybe like one more place I'll go this year, other than visiting family. But I probably won't go. I want to go somewhere international again next year. But who knows? Things could change. I could change my mind. I might be like, I'm going to Spain. I just always tell myself to be prepared for the opportunity to travel various places. Last year was planned out because I was turning 40. My best friend was turning 40. So like we had those birthday trips planned, and then the meet and greet in Atlanta, and then I went to go do the Thanksgiving thing with CJ and Sharice in Maryland. So I would like to make it back out there for either their Thanksgiving or their back to school drive, whichever one I can make it to. I would like to make it back. But I also plan to buy a Beyonce ticket, so that's gonna count as a trip price. I already know. I'm not paying for a $1,000 seat though. But I'm not gonna be all the way in the nosebleeds. I just want to be in the middle, because I feel like if I pay for a nosebleed, I may as well stay at home and watch it on TV later, whenever they release the concert footage. Like, I don't like to be in the nosebleeds, so I'm not gonna pay for front stage tickets, but I already told myself I'm prepared to pay at the most $500 for a Beyonce ticket. I think that'll get me at a reasonable view. That'll count as a trip for me. I just want to see her live one time. I haven't ever seen her live, and everybody that I've known to see her live show says it's worth the experience. And what's crazy is I love so many other singers and things like that. She's not even my favorite of my favorite. She's one that I definitely respect as a disciplined singer and performer. But she's not my favorite of favorite, but I definitely want to see her show. There's some people that are just performers. And she could sing very well and perform. So I know it's going to be a good show. But y'all, I've been on here an hour. Thank you so much for popping in. I hope you guys have a good rest of the day. Hopefully, I have to check and see, but I think I can get outside for a little bit. I think the ice has melted down enough. The sun's been out all day, so I think I should be good. But I will see you guys next time, and hopefully pop in some lives if anybody else goes live over the weekend. I'll try to pop in some of your lives. So thanks so much. See y'all.